Joining me now is Democratic Senator and Chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Ben Cardin. Senator Cardin, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Kristen, it's great to be with you. Thank you very much.
It's so great to have you here in person. I want to ask you about Leader Schumer's comments on the Senate floor. He called Prime Minister Netanyahu an obstacle to peace. President Biden said it was a good speech. Do you think Prime Minister Netanyahu is an obstacle to peace?
I think people should listen to his entire speech. Senator Schumer's speech came from his heart, what he believes is necessary for peace. He was very clear about Hamas needs to be eliminated, that there can be no peace in the Middle East for either the Palestinians or the Israelis with Hamas. The responsibilities for what is happening there is clearly on Hamas. Israel has the total right to defend itself. And then he's talking about how do we move after the war? How do we get peace in the region? And he was very clear about the fact that you need security. You need an authority for the Palestinians that will provide security for the Palestinians and the Israelis. But you also need to have a pathway to two states living together in peace. And I think he was very clear that it's the Israelis, their system, need to give clear direction as to who they want to be their leaders.
Would you go so far, though, Senator? And I hear you saying he gave context in his speech, but would you go so far as to call Netanyahu an obstacle to peace, given his opposition to a two-state solution?
I think it's up to the Israelis to determine their own leaders. I recognize that. We had challenges with the Netanyahu coalition prior to October 7th. Real concerns. It caused major division within Israel before October 7th. There's unity now because of the war. Let's see what happens after the war.
Well, you make a really interesting point. And in fact, according to a U.S. intelligence report, Netanyahu's viability as a leader may be in jeopardy. As you know, there have been protests throughout Israel because of how he's handling the war right now. Do you think Netanyahu is the right leader for this moment?
Well, we got to get past, I think the Israelis recognize they got to get past Hamas at this particular moment. Once there is security in Gaza and there's security for the Palestinians and the Israelis need to focus on who they want their leader to be. We don't want to see a repeat of October 7th. Nobody wants to see that. But it means you have to have a pathway towards peace. You need to have security, and you need two states living together side by side in peace. Who is the right leader? It's up to the Israelis.
Yeah, President Biden said that if Prime Minister Netanyahu goes into Rafah, that would be a red line for him. I wonder what you think should happen if Netanyahu goes into Rafah, if there's no clear plan presented to the United States for protecting civilians, I should say, in the region. Should the U.S. consider withholding aid and weapons to Israel?
With a trusted friend, a long, mature relationship, you don't look for transactional leverage in order to deal with your conversations. You have frank and honest discussions, and you try to find a common path forward. There's clear that going into Rafah at this particular moment, where so many people are, so many Palestinians, that you have to make arrangements to make sure that the people that are there are not going to be at undue risk. So and the Israelis have acknowledged that. So we're going to deal with our foreign policy based upon our values. At times we may disagree with Israel, but it'll be a relationship of friends.
You're saying we don't use leverage, but isn't this the right time to use leverage when you have this growing humanitarian crisis and Schumer and President Biden saying Israel's not doing enough to protect civilian lives in Gaza? Why not use all of the leverage at the United States' disposal?
The U.S. has tremendous leverage in our conversations with Israel, and we use that leverage. We don't have to do it through conditionality.
Why, I should say, do you think that you have not gone as far as Leader Schumer and President Biden in being critical of how Israel is conducting this war? And again, the growing humanitarian crisis that we're witnessing in Gaza.
I would say I'm deeply concerned about what is happening in Gaza today, about the humanitarian crisis. We all have a responsibility, including Israel, to do more to help in regard to humanitarian assistance. We need to do more to get the hostages released. So, no, I'm not satisfied by what's happening on the ground. We need to be much more aggressive in dealing with this crisis. Innocent people are dying, and we can't let that happen.
Let's turn to Ukraine now. There's obviously been a big debate over whether more aid will be sent to Ukraine and what the form of that will be. Former President Donald Trump has said he would support it only if it's in the form of a loan. Is that something that you would support, Senator?
No, I think Ukraine needs to have we got to get help to Ukraine. If it starts as a loan, if we can't do anything other than that, we might have to consider that. But this is in our national security interest. All they're asking for us is resources, not our troops. Ukraine is not the end of Russia's aggression. If they win in Ukraine, they'll go further. I met with the president of Poland this past week, the prime minister of Estonia. I had a chance to talk to her last night. There are NATO allies that are at risk, and that means U.S. soldiers. So we should have done it well before now. We shouldn't be hesitating in providing this aid.
Do you think that's the only realistic path, though, this loan that's being discussed? And again, it sounds like you're open to it if you reach that conclusion.
I want to see the supplemental passed as is. That's the way we get aid in as quickly as possible. It passed by an overwhelming majority in the United States Senate. It provides the aid that Ukraine desperately needs. It provides humanitarian assistance that we need. It helps Israel. It helps our allies in the Indo-Pacific. We need to get that done. It also helps our military resupply what they need. And it's all done through aid here in the United States to provide the resources. We need to get that done. That's the way you get things done quickly. If we try a different path, it's going to take a long time. Ukraine needs the help today. They don't have the ammunition they need. They're fighting Russia that recognizes there is a weakness here because of the lack of equipment. No, we shouldn't be looking at alternatives. We should be passing the supplemental.
I have to ask you what I was just talking to Senator Cassidy about TikTok, this bill, which just passed the House. Again, the House bill would effectively require ByteDance, the parent company, to sell TikTok or face a total ban in the U.S. Is that something you would support if it did come up for a vote in the Senate?
We are concerned about what TikTok does with this information, whether they could use it against Americans and invade privacy and compromise our national security. Our concern is on the ownership of TikTok. It's not on those that are using it. It's not on freedom of speech or content. It's solely on ownership. And by the way, we have concerns on all the social media platforms as to safety, particularly for our children. So there's some broader issues. But TikTok's concern is whether the Chinese will be using it against our national security interests.
But if this bill in its current form came before you, would you vote yes on it?
I'm certainly sympathetic to it. Let's see how it goes through the Senate process. But yes, I think we need to put guardrails in regards to the ownership of TikTok.
So you're open to it, it sounds like, but haven't made a final decision.
No, because I think we'll see how the Senate wants to take this up and consider it. There, as I said, there are issues concerning safety for our children. So there's some other issues that may get combined with this. So I'll be working with my colleagues, but I'd like to see us get to the finish line and provide the guardrails that are necessary.
Let me switch gears. You became the chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee when New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez was indicted on bribery charges. He stepped down from his post. We now have reporting that he's considering potentially running for re-election as an independent. We asked him about that. Our reporters did. He didn't rule it out. What is your reaction? What do you make of him running for re-election as an independent if that happens?
So these are very serious charges. His trial's coming up shortly. My responsibility in taking over the chairmanship of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee is to make sure that committee can function and deal with the challenges that we have globally. So I'm going to focus on my responsibilities as chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and we'll see how these matters come out.
I have to ask you one more before I let you go. You are retiring at the age of 80. Obviously, age has been in the spotlight against the backdrop of this election cycle. Do you think there should be an age limit for elected office?
No, I don't think there should be an age limit for elected office. And if I could just correct you a little bit, I'm not retiring. I'm just not running for re-election.
Running for re-election, yes, thank you. Not running for re-election, an important distinction.
No, I think each person has to make their own decision. I had to make an 8-year decision when I made because it was 2 years before the elections, a 6-year term, and I think it's the right decision.
Okay, all right. Senator Cardin, thank you so much for being here. Great to have you in person.
Thank you. Good.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.